Assalamu alaikum, y'all. It has been a minute. I haven't posted literally all of Ramadan. It's been an interesting month for sure, but we're back, and we are back with a very important video. This video is probably just as important as any pre-Ramadan video that you've watched, because Shaitan is going to come at you hard in the next couple weeks, and you're going to feel it because you've just had an amazing month, right? You've been on this spiritual high. Shaitan's been locked up, and now he's gonna try and ruin all the progress that you've made for this last month. So having some sort of game plan or idea of what to do after Ramadan is just as important as the game plan that you made before Ramadan as well. And Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, has a very interesting sort of example where he says that the example of Ramadan to the 11 other months is like the example of Yusuf alayhi salam to the other 11 brothers, that through that one brother, all 11 of them were shown mercy and forgiveness from Allah. And so in the same way, we hope that the things that we did in Ramadan, hopefully those will earn us Allah's mercy for all the sins that we did in the last 11 months. And of course, Eid is a day of celebration and joy. I don't know when you're watching this, but it'll be after Eid, right? And as much as we should celebrate it, we should also take time to reflect. It's important to see what we did in these last 30 days and take lessons from them moving forward. And if we build on that analogy from Yusuf alayhi salam, one reflection that you'll notice in his life is that a lot of people didn't recognize his value until he was put on the throne, until the very end of the story where he had to go through all of that, right? He was a slave. He was literally a piece of property. And before that, he was a fugitive. Before that, he was a prisoner. And of course, before that, he was a threat to his brothers. Not many people valued him in all of those stages until the very end when he was put on a throne. What point am I trying to make? If Ramadan has been put on a throne for you, right? If you've realized the value of Ramadan and everything that it comes with, the connection to your Rabb, the connection to the Quran, whether it's the connection to the masjid, don't take Ramadan now and throw it back into the well. There's a phrase that's used a lot on social media, Ramadan Muslims. There's a derogatory frame that's used a lot, especially on social media, right? Ramadan Muslims, right? Someone that sins all year, and then right when Ramadan comes around, they swap out the playlist for nasheeds or Quran, and they try to be, a good Muslim and whatnot. The reality of the matter is that every single one of us is a Ramadan Muslim. Like we just are. The Sahaba were Ramadan Muslims. They would spend 6 months after Ramadan being sad that it was over, and then 6 months before yearning for it, right? And I mean, you're supposed to try your hardest in Ramadan. You're supposed to be as good as a Muslim as you can. And naturally, after Ramadan, you're gonna start to dip a bit. But even with that decline, you still put Ramadan, you keep it on that throne. And how do we do that? The first way to keep Ramadan on the throne is to have that shukr, that gratitude that teaches us to see the good, right? This month, Allah showed us our potential, and we have to thank Him for showing us that and for also giving us that opportunity to be guided, right? He has guided you and I to what so many other people don't have. I mean, while we're here, while you're watching this video, we just had Eid, we just had 30 days of Ramadan where we were worshiping and getting closer to Allah. We personally know dozens, if not hundreds of people who don't have that same blessing. They don't have that higher purpose, right? They kind of just go through life very aimlessly and with no real meaning, kind of just going from one sort of pleasure to another, and it's very depressing, right? It doesn't give you any sort of sense of fulfillment. But you and I, we've been given that gift of guidance and that gift of purpose. And so for the rest of the year, right, the other 11 months, they're looking at Ramadan, they're looking at you and they're seeing it on the throne. So don't go and take Ramadan and throw it back into the well. And as you throw it back into the well, you also take your Quran and you throw it back on the bookshelf for it to collect dust for the next 11 months. And now you start putting other things on the throne as well, right? You start going back to that playlist that you used to listen to, or that TV show that you used to watch. You start not lowering your gaze or gossiping again. All of these things, by the way, are still haram after Eid. Backbiting and not lowering your gaze, it doesn't become halal. So don't get back into those things that were hurting your soul. Those sins that you did that just made you feel uneasy. When you commit a sin, when you corrupt your heart, you feel it, right? You don't get away with it. And for those that felt this sense of peace in this month of Ramadan, it's because you didn't violate your soul. Because there are people that went through this month and they fasted every day and they prayed and they gave charity and did all this stuff, but at the same time they would harm other people. They would backbite, they'd insult, they wouldn't lower their gaze, whatever it may be, they corrupted their heart. And because of that, they didn't feel that same level of peace and tranquility. And so now that you have this level of peace, don't get rid of it, right? Continue those habits that would give you that peace. Whether it was, now you've started praying 5 times a day, whether it's, you have a charitable heart now, or it's going to the masjid every night. Subhanallah, one of the saddest things to see is the masjid 48 hours after Ramadan. I mean, at night, we're talking for Isha Tarawih, the masjid was absolutely packed. People were fighting to get in, parking was overfilled, but then not even 2 days later, there's barely 2 rows for Isha, right? It's really sad to see, and it happens every single Ramadan. If you've already built that habit now of going to the masjid, of reading Quran every day, continue with those habits, because Ramadan remains on the throne, because it has shown you what prayer means, what fasting means, and how you can finally get that peace, right? And subhanAllah, a sign of your Ramadan being accepted is that you continue those acts of ibadah afterwards. Again, it might not be on that same level of reading 20 pages a day, of going to the masjid every day and doing an hour of tarawih and all this kind of stuff, but you take away something and you continue it, even if it's small, right? The Prophet ﷺ told us that أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل, that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the consistent ones, even if they're small. So even if you went from reading 20 pages a day, start reading 5 pages a day, start reading 1 page a day. Just don't read 0 pages a day, right? Have that consistency that you had in Ramadan. Even though the intensity or the amount of good that we do might decrease after Ramadan, don't go to 0, right? Have some sort of baseline and stay consistent with that. And don't go back to your old ways, right? Ramadan should have changed something in you, and we should really try to not ruin that potential reward. It is really dark in here, isn't it? Hold on, guys. Okay. What was I saying? Right, you've proven that you can do more, right? So at least set some sort of baseline and stay consistent with that. Ka'b ibn Malik actually mentions a really hopeful but also very scary narration where he says that من صام رمضان وهو يحدث نفسه إذا فطر بعد رمضان لا يعصي الله دخل الجنة بغير مسألة ولا حساب. That whoever fasts Ramadan and says to themselves that I'm not going to return to any form of disobedience after Ramadan, I'm not going to go back to my old ways, then that person is going to enter Jannah without any questioning or accountability. That you just tell yourself today, I'm not going to go back. That something has to change, and Allah has guaranteed you paradise. But the other part is وَمَنْ صَامَ رَمَضَانَ وَهُوَ يُحَدِّثُ نَفْسَهُ إِذَا فَطَرَ بَعْدَ رَمَضَانَ أَنْ يَعْصِ رَبَّهُ فَصِيَامُهُ عَلَيْهِ مَرْدُودٌ. That whoever tells himself that he's going to disobey after Ramadan, then his fast is returned. His fast isn't accepted. All of the deeds that you've done in this Ramadan, they don't count for anything, right? Because you're planning already that once Ramadan is over, I'm just going to go back to my old ways anyways. And of course, obviously, right, we are going to slip up after Ramadan and we're going to sin. But this is a person who had already kind of planned, like he already knows he's going to go back to that haram relationship or that haram income or that haram playlist after Ramadan is over. So you have to ask yourself right now, is this Ramadan going to be a turning point, right? Or will it just come and go and nothing really changed? Are you going to take those lessons that you learned and implement them moving forward? That's just something to think about moving forward. Allah accept, obviously, all our fasts, all our efforts that we did in this month. And I'm excited for what's to come, inshallah. I've been very inconsistent with YouTube and just videos in general. Dental school is absolutely kicking my butt, but we'll eventually find that balance somehow, inshallah. Alright, I will catch you guys in the next video. Wassalamu alaikum.